The morning after our wedding, my husband's parent walked into our bedroom unannounced and said, "I'll be handling your marriage from now on." My husband laughed and replied, "It's just how things work in our family." I smiled, reached under the pillow, and pulled out a set of papers that made them both go silent. I didn't grow up in a household where people just walked into rooms without knocking. That wasn't a thing. My parents taught me about privacy and respect, especially when it came to relationships. Apparently, my in-laws missed that lesson. I married my husband, Luke 29 male, after dating him for 2 years. I won't lie, I noticed his family was intense early on, but I thought it was just overprotectiveness. I ignored the little things. The way his mother, Mary, always spoke for him. The way his father, Richard, seemed to expect total obedience. The way Luke always caved to them without a fight. I made excuses. He's just used to them being involved. It's just how their family is. It won't affect our marriage. It affected our marriage. The night before, we had our wedding in Savannah, Georgia. Small, beautiful, exactly how I wanted it. I was exhausted but happy when I woke up. Luke was lying next to me, scrolling through his phone like nothing in the world was wrong. I stretched, feeling that warm, content just married feeling, and then our bedroom door swung open. No knock. No hesitation. I jerked upright, barely pulling the blanket over myself before Mary and Richard walked in like they owned the place. "Good morning," Mary chirped. I froze. My mind couldn't process it. Were they seriously standing in our bedroom? Luke barely looked up from his phone. "Hey, Mom." "Hey, Dad." Like it was completely normal. I blinked. "What are you doing?" Richard sighed like I had just asked the world's dumbest question. "We wanted to check in before we start planning things." "Planning what?" I asked. Mary smiled. "Your marriage, of course." The way she said it made my stomach turn. "Excuse me?" Richard stepped forward, arms crossed. "We'll be handling things from now on. The big stuff, finances, house decisions, vacations. Don't worry, we've done this before." My brain short-circuited. Luke, my brand new husband, laughed. "Yeah, babe, don't worry. It's just how things work in our family." Like it was a joke. Like I was overreacting. I felt my fingers clench the sheets. "Wait," I said slowly, "you're saying you expect to be in charge of our marriage?" Mary tilted her head like I was a confused toddler. "Sweetie, we're here to help you. We help Luke's brother and his wife too. It's for the best." Then, she beamed. "Oh! Speaking of, we already booked your honeymoon for you. You'll be going to a resort we picked." I could actually feel my pulse in my ears. They booked our honeymoon. Without telling us. Without asking. Like it was their decision. I turned to Luke. "Did you know about this?" He shrugged. "Yeah, my parents always handle that stuff." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Then Mary sat on the edge of the bed like this was some kind of casual morning chat. "And don't worry about money. We'll go over your budget later today. We have a system." A system. Like we were their employees. Luke just stretched. "It's easier this way, babe." I turned to him fully. "And what if I don't want that?" Luke gave me a look. A look that said, "Why are you making this a thing?" "It's fine," he said. "Just let them handle it. It's how our family works." I sat completely still for a moment. Then I smiled. "That's great," I said, voice sugary sweet. "But I have something for you too." I reached under my pillow. Luke barely had time to react before I pulled out a thick set of papers. I watched Mary's expression change instantly. Richard frowned. "What is that?" Luke took the papers, flipping through them casually at first. Then his face drained of color. Mary snatched them from his hands. "What the hell is this?" It was a prenuptial agreement. Signed. Witnessed. Legally binding. I watched all three of them go pale. I had just flipped the entire game upside down. Luke was still staring at the papers, blinking like he couldn't understand what he was reading. Mary and Richard looked like someone had just slapped them across the face. Richard was the first to react. "What is this nonsense?" I crossed my arms. "That," I said calmly, "is a prenuptial agreement." Mary shook her head, flipping through the pages with a nervous laugh. This can't be real." "Oh, it's very real." Luke finally spoke, his voice weak. "You made me sign a prenup?" I turned to him. "You don't remember? We signed it 6 months ago. You were so confident it wasn't necessary, so you didn't even read it." Mary's voice rose. "This is ridiculous. We don't do prenups in this family." "Well," I said, "I guess that's another thing that's changing in this family." I watched as her hand clenched the paper so tightly her knuckles turned white. Richard snatched them from her and skimmed through the pages, his jaw tightening as he read each line. The prenup had some very specific clauses. No interference from in-laws in financial matters. No joint accounts or shared assets with anyone but each other. Both partners must agree on major decisions, including vacations, investments, and property purchases. If any of these terms were violated, the other party could file for divorce and take a 70-30 split of all shared assets. Luke had signed it all. Mary's face turned red. This is insane. This isn't how a marriage works. You're supposed to share everything with family. No, I said. I'm supposed to share everything with my husband. And he's supposed to share everything with me. Not you. Luke looked genuinely panicked now. You tricked me. I raised a brow. I told you to read it. He opened his mouth, then shut it again. He had no argument because he knew I was right. Richard tossed the papers onto the bed like they were covered in filth. This is a mistake. You're going to ruin this family. I just smiled. Actually, I think I just saved my marriage. But I wasn't prepared for what came next. Richard's expression shifted. His rage turned into something else. Something calmer. More dangerous. He stepped forward, staring me down like I was an opponent in a game I didn't even know we were playing. You think this little contract is going to protect you? His voice was low, calculated. You don't know what you've gotten yourself into, girl. A chill ran down my spine. Mary straightened, her lips curling into a tight smile. We always take care of family. One way or another. Something about the way she said it made my stomach turn. Luke rubbed his temples, clearly trying to process everything. Okay, let's just calm down. But Richard wasn't finished. Do you think this piece of paper is going to stop us? He leaned in. Do you know how easy it would be to make your life hell? I refused to back down. I'd love to see you try. He smirked. Challenge accepted. That's when I realized this wasn't over. This was just the beginning. For the next week, things got worse. Richard and Mary weren't the type to yell and scream. They were the type to control from the shadows. And now that they couldn't control me through Luke, they got creative. First, they tried guilt. We're only trying to help. It hurts us that you don't trust us. If you really loved Luke, you'd respect how we do things in this family. Then, they tried turning Luke against me. She's trying to isolate you from your family. She's making you choose between us and her. She's only doing this for money. I expected Luke to push back, to stand up for me. Instead, he started acting different. At first, he just seemed stressed. Snapping over little things. Spending more time on his phone. Staying up late texting someone. Then, it got worse. He started making plans with his parents behind my back. He withdrew money from our personal account, claiming it was for family expenses. He started canceling our plans last minute because Mom and Dad need me. And then, one night, I caught him whispering on the phone in the living room. I stayed quiet, listening from around the corner. Luke, I know. I just need more time. Pause, Luke. No, she doesn't suspect anything yet. My stomach dropped. Suspect what? The next morning, I checked our bank account. $5,000 was missing. I confronted Luke. Where's the money? He froze. I had to loan it to my parents. I stared at him. Are you serious? He sighed. Babe, it's not a big deal. They needed help. He violated the prenup. I looked him dead in the eye. You know what this means, right? He swallowed hard. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Because he finally realized I wasn't playing games. And I wasn't going to let him or his parents win. Luke stood there, frozen. I could see the exact moment he realized he had made a huge mistake. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. He looked at his parents, then at me, then back at the prenup in my hands. Mary was shaking. Richard's face was a shade of red I hadn't seen before. You, he seethed, pointing a finger at me. You tricked him. I scoffed. I asked him to read it. He didn't. That's not my fault. Mary laughed bitterly. Oh, honey, you really think this is going to protect you? I stood firm. I don't think. I know. Richard exhaled sharply through his nose. Fine. You want to play this game? Let's play. And that's when things got worse. For the next 2 weeks, I noticed little things changing. Luke started working late. Mary and Richard suddenly had keys to our house. Money in our joint account began disappearing in small amounts. I confronted Luke about it. He shrugged, acting like it wasn't a big deal. They just need help with some things, he said. I stared at him. Why do they have keys to our house? Oh, he rubbed the back of his neck. I gave them a copy. Just in case. In case of what? He hesitated. Emergencies? I laughed coldly. So, what? They're expecting emergencies at 7 a.m. when they waltz into our bedroom? Luke rolled his eyes. You're being dramatic. I could feel my patience wearing thin. Luke, you do realize they are trying to control us, right? They're just trying to help. I clenched my jaw. No, they're trying to control you. And you're letting them. He looked genuinely confused. Like the thought had never even crossed his mind. I was beginning to wonder if he even had a mind of his own. One night, I came home late from work. Luke was already asleep, snoring softly in bed. I went into the kitchen to grab a glass of water. That's when I noticed it. The prenup, sitting on the kitchen counter. I frowned. I had kept it hidden away, locked in a drawer in our bedroom. I picked it up. The first few pages were fine, but then I got to the last page, the part where we both signed. Something was off. I squinted at Luke's signature. It looked faded, like someone had tried to erase it. My heart dropped. I grabbed my phone, snapped a picture, and compared it to the copy my lawyer had sent me. The signatures didn't match. Someone had forged a new document. I spun around, heart pounding. Luke was still asleep in the bedroom, which meant it wasn't him. The next morning, I confronted him. "Luke," I said, placing the prenup in front of him at the breakfast table. "What is this?" He frowned. "What do you mean? This isn't the prenup we signed." His eyes darted to the side. "What are you talking about?" I shoved my phone toward him, showing him the comparison of the signatures. "Your parents were here yesterday, weren't they?" He shifted in his seat. "Babe, come on, answer the question." He sighed, rubbing his face. They just wanted to look at it. And they replaced it with a fake." He hesitated just a second too long. I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. "You knew. It's not a big deal," he snapped. Not a big deal?" I was shaking with rage. "They broke into our house. They didn't break in. I gave them a key." Oh, that was it. That was the moment I knew. Luke wasn't on my side. I left that morning and drove straight to my lawyer's office. I handed him the fake prenup. His face darkened. "This is fraud." "Yeah," I said. "I kind of figured. Have you checked the rest of your legal documents?" That stopped me cold. "What?" He leaned forward. "If they were bold enough to forge this, what else have they touched?" That night, I went home with a plan. I didn't say a word to Luke. I simply went to my filing cabinet and pulled out every important document we had. And sure enough, I found something else. The deed to our house had been tampered with. Luke's name was still there, but mine? Gone. Someone had refiled the paperwork. It was now completely under Luke's name. I felt like I was going to be sick. I heard Luke coming down the hallway, yawning. "What are you doing?" I held up the fake deed. His face went white. I took a deep breath. "You let them do this?" Luke didn't answer. He didn't have to. My hands were shaking. "So let me get this straight. They forged a prenup, they changed the deed to our house, and you just let it happen." Luke looked torn. Like he wanted to deny it, but he couldn't. They just wanted to make sure we were protected. "We? Or you?" He ran a hand through his hair. "Babe, this is just how my family is. They look out for their own." I laughed. A short, bitter sound. "Well, congratulations," I said, tossing the fake deed onto the table. "Looks like you're finally one of them." Luke's face twisted. "You're overreacting." I grabbed my keys. My purse. My prenup, the real one. And I looked him dead in the eyes. "You don't get to gaslight me, Luke. Not anymore." And with that, I walked right out the door. Because now it was war. I walked out that night, but I wasn't leaving forever. Not yet. I needed to be smart. I needed to gather everything before making my next move. Because this wasn't just about me anymore. This was fraud. This was identity theft. This was manipulation on a level I had never imagined possible. And I wasn't going to let them win. I spent the next few days at a friend's place, meeting with my lawyer, gathering evidence, and preparing for what came next. And then, when I was ready, I went back to the house. I planned it perfectly. I called Luke and told him I wanted to talk things out over dinner. Told him I was willing to listen. He sounded relieved. Like he actually thought I was coming back to him. He said his parents were in town and wanted to join. Perfect. Let them all be there. Let them think they won. Because tonight, I was burning it all to the ground. We met at a fancy steakhouse, the kind of place Mary loved to brag about going to. Luke looked nervous, but hopeful when I arrived. Richard and Mary were smug as ever, dressed like they were about to attend a gala instead of face judgment. "Sweetheart." Mary greeted me with fake warmth. "It's so good to see you. We were just talking about how proud we are of Luke for stepping up as a husband." I smiled. "Oh, I bet you were." I sat down. The waiter poured wine. The atmosphere was thick with tension. Luke reached for my hand. "I'm glad you're here." I let him hold it. For a second. Just long enough to let him think I was still his. Then, I pulled away. And placed a thick folder on the table. Mary's smile froze. Richard's fingers tightened around his fork. Luke swallowed hard. "What's that?" I leaned forward. "Oh, just a little collection of documents I put together." I slid it toward Luke. "Go ahead. Take a look." He hesitated. Opened it. His face drained of color. Because inside was everything. The original prenup with his signature. The forged prenup with the mismatched signature. The title transfer they tried to pull behind my back. The bank statements showing the missing money. Everything. In black and white. Mary snapped the folder closed. This is ridiculous. I smiled. Is it? She turned to Luke. You're not going to sit here and let her attack us, are you? Luke looked like he wanted to crawl under the table and die. Richard was silent, his jaw clenched. He knew. He knew they had been caught. Mary, however, was still delusional enough to think she could talk her way out of this. You have no proof we did anything wrong, she said. And honestly, I find it insulting that you'd even accuse us. I pulled out my phone. Clicked play. And suddenly, Mary's own voice filled the air. Mary's voice. Do you think this piece of paper is going to stop us? Richard's voice. You don't know what you've gotten yourself into, girl. Mary, we always take care of family. One way or another. The restaurant was silent. Mary's eyes widened. Where did you get that? I recorded it, I said calmly. Because unlike Luke, I know exactly who I married into. Luke's hands shook. You recorded us? I tilted my head. And yet you're more upset about that than the fact that your parents tried to commit fraud in your name. He had nothing to say to that. Richard finally snapped. He leaned forward, voice low, full of rage. You think this is over? You think you've won? I leaned forward too. I don't think. I know. Luke begged me to stay. Right there, in the middle of the restaurant, he pleaded. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was just trying to keep the peace. I love you. We can fix this. I looked at him, the man I once loved, the man I thought I was building a life with. And I felt nothing, no sadness, no heartbreak, just relief. Because I finally saw him for what he was. A coward, a mama's boy who would never choose me over them. So I gave him my answer. I stood up. I placed my wedding ring on the table. And I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, you deserve each other. Then I walked out. And this time, I didn't look back. I filed for divorce the next morning. Thanks to the prenup, I got the house, the savings, and a clean break. Luke tried to fight it. His parents even hired a lawyer to challenge the prenup, but the judge laughed them out of the courtroom. Mary and Richard? Their reputation was ruined. Word got out about what they tried to pull, and let's just say they weren't invited to family events anymore. Luke? He moved back in with his parents. And me? I took my freedom, my dignity, and my brand new life. And I never, never looked back.